In this next section, we're going to step back outside the heart, talk about some of the structures on the external heart that we need to know, including some of the coronary arteries and veins. First of all, the coronary arteries and veins branch off from the aorta. They're going to supply the blood to the actual muscle tissue and then bring deoxygenated blood back from the muscle tissue. And this is a plastinated model of the circulatory system of the heart. So you can see these big arteries branching off and supplying the whole heart. So the heart muscle does not get blood, or does not get oxygen from the blood traveling through the chambers, which wouldn't help very much because the blood coming into the right side of the heart is deoxygenated, isn't it? So instead, the heart has its own blood supply. That's what the coronary arteries and veins are. The coronary arteries and veins, the main ones, travel in what we call a coronary sulcus. So there's one coronary sulcus here between the right atrium and the right ventricle. And then there's another here between the right ventricle and the left ventricle. A sulcus just means an indentation or a groove, okay? The coronary arteries, as you can see, they've done the heart in black and white, transparent, so that you can see the arteries themselves. So you can see that these arteries branch off right above the aortic semilunar valve. They're like the first thing there. The right coronary artery comes off of, the right side, and it goes between the right atrium and ventricle, and all these other arteries branch off. You don't need to know most of them. The only ones you need to know are this one, the right marginal artery, which runs along the edge or margin of the right ventricle. And then the other branch after this right marginal artery branches off, the other branch is called the posterior interventricular artery. So this goes around, I think it's actually still called the right coronary artery as it extends around. And then when it comes down between the right and left ventricles on the back of the heart, it's called the interventricular artery, the posterior interventricular artery. This is going between the ventricles on the back of the heart. The left coronary artery goes behind the pulmonary trunk and then branches into the anterior interventricular artery, which goes on the front of the heart, down through the sulcus between the right and left ventricles. And then the other branch is the circumflex artery, which circles around the left ventricle. Okay, you don't need to know all these other branches unless you're a heart surgeon. So, right coronary artery, right marginal artery, posterior interventricular artery, left coronary artery, anterior interventricular artery, circumflex artery. Okay, so that's 6 that you need to know of the coronary arteries. And then the coronary veins, God bless them, their names are so simple. We've got a greater, a middle, and a small cardiac vein. What? I know, I feel like the people who named arteries and veins, they just they had these great names for arteries, and then when they went to the veins, they're like, I don't know, big, small, big, middle, small, I don't know. So these are going to carry deoxygenated blood back from heart muscle. The great cardiac vein runs parallel to the anterior interventricular artery. The middle cardiac vein runs up the middle of the back of the heart, but it's also running parallel to the posterior interventricular artery. And the small cardiac vein is going to run alongside the right median artery, okay? And then all of the veins of the heart are going to dump blood back into this pocket on the back of the heart that's right between the left atrium and the left ventricle, and it's called the coronary sinus. A sinus is a pocket, okay? It can either be a pocket inside a bone, like the sinuses on your skull, or it can be a pocket like this that gathers something before it goes somewhere else. So the coronary sinus is there. It gathers the deoxygenated blood from the heart before dumping it into the right atrium through the coronary sinus opening. Okay, just a reminder that the cardiac muscle tissue itself is cardiac muscle. It's branched cells that each have a single nucleus, and they're connected by intercalated discs that are full of those little gap junctions. Okay. Oh, that's supposed to be the next part. Hang on. Our next section is going to be how the heart beats. So we'll come back to those cardiac muscles.